Well, today you join me in my home city of Dunfermline, and I'm looking at 3 different events over 2 centuries that joined Dunfermline with the United States of America. So on this lovely December day, let's go and see what they are. This is Pitcreef Park in the middle of Dunfermline. It was an estate belonging to the Forbes family back in the 18th century. I'm now heading towards the ancestral home of the Forbes family, Pitcreef House. It's a very popular place for people to spend any day of the week. In 1707, the youngest member of the family was born, John Forbes. John Forbes was going to have a massive influence on the connections between Dunfermline and the United States. As a young man, John Forbes joined the army and served in the wars of the Austrian succession. He also served in Culloden, but on the government side. In 1758, he travelled to North America and captured Fort Duquesne from the French. Once it had been captured, Fort Duquesne was renamed Fort Pitt in honour of William Pitt the Elder, the Prime Minister of Great Britain. The settlement that grew around Fort Pitt became known as Pittsburgh. I'm using that pronunciation because it was named by a Scotsman, and that's how he would have said it. It is now known commonly as Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is an interesting place, and we'll revisit it later on in the story. So, how did the private estate owned by the Forbes family become a public park in Dunfermline? Well, that was all down to one man who was the richest man in the world at the time, and in 1902 he purchased it. The next subject was born here on the 25th of November 1835, the son of a weaver, and within 60 years he went on to become the richest man in the world in the 19th century. Carnegie was born upstairs here. A typical weaver's cottage. It wasn't the biggest place to bring up a family. In the 19th century, weaving was very much a cottage industry, with most weavers' houses having a loom or shared loom. On the 14th of March 1848, the Carnegie family arrived in America aboard the Wisconsin. To quote Andrew Carnegie, "Fortunate in my ancestors, I was supremely so in my birthplace. I am a child of Dunfermline." Of course, Carnegie's life really took off once he got to America. Initially investing in railways and then steelworks.
Quote from the Park for Wealth, published 25 years ago. This then is oil to be the duty of the man of wealth. First, to set an example of modest, unostentatious living. Yet the day is not far distant when the man who died, leaving behind him millions of available wealth, which was free for him to administer during life, will pass away unwept, unhonored, and unsung.
Well, that was very interesting, and it was free. So now we will move on to our last port of call for today. Because Dunfermline was such a large manufacturer of linen, a lot of exports went to the US. And every week, the manufacturers in Dunfermline had to do the 34-mile round trip to Edinburgh to the American consul to get their export certificates notarised. The Edinburgh consul was lobbied to open a branch in Dunfermline. So in 1871, that consulate was opened. And they opened an American consul here in Dunfermline, in Buffy's Brae. Well, that's me for this week. I hope you enjoyed that. It's just a little bit of history for you. So subscribe, like, and we'll see you again next week. I don't know where I'll be, but wherever it is, I hope it's interesting as well. Thank you.